Good morning, class 7. Today we will start the chapter The Mughal Empire. But before we start that, just do a quick recap of what we have studied in the previous chapter. We have done the Delhi Sultanate. Remember? Okay, so the last ruler in the Delhi Sultanate was Ibrahim Lodi. He was not liked by anybody, and his uncle Behlol Lodi invited Babur to invade India. He was in the impression that Babur will invade the country, plunder it, and will leave like other previous invaders. But in 1526, in the first battle of Panipat, when Ibrahim Lodi was defeated by Babur, after that Babur ascended the throne. He himself declared, himself to be the king of India. And so the dreams of Behlol Lodi or the wishes were shattered. So from there the Mughal Empire was set up. Let's see the chapter now. Ruling as large a territory as the Indian subcontinent with such a diversity of people and cultures was an extremely difficult task for any ruler to accomplish in the Middle Ages. Quite in contrast to their predecessors, the Mughals created an empire and accomplished what had hitherto seemed possible for only short periods of time. From the latter half of 16th century, they expanded their kingdom from Agra and Delhi. Until in the 17th century, they controlled nearly all of the subcontinent. So when they started ruling the Indian subcontinent, they saw that there were people living in the country. They have different cultures, different languages they speak, and it was very difficult for one person to maintain everything. And in contrast, in the opposite to their predecessors, the rulers who have been ruling before the Mughals, they created an empire which seemed they had their empire only for short period of time. From the latter half of 16th century, they expanded their kingdom from Agra and Delhi. Until in 17th century, they controlled nearly all of the subcontinent. So initially they begin with Agra and Delhi, and gradually they had control over the whole subcontinent. They imposed a structure of administration and ideas of governance that outlasted their rule, leaving a political legacy that succeeding rulers of the subcontinent could not ignore. Today, the Prime Minister of India addresses the nation on Independence Day from the ramparts of the Red Fort in Delhi, the residence of the Mughal emperors. So, you all must be aware that Red Fort was built by Shah Jahan, who was a Mughal ruler, and from there, the Prime Minister addresses the nation on Independence Day, that is 15th of August. Now, who were the Mughals? The Mughals were descendants of two great lineages of rulers. From their mother's side, they were descendants of Genghis Khan, who died in 1227, the Mongol ruler who ruled over parts of China and Central Asia. From their father's side, they were the successors of Timur, who died in 1404, the ruler of Iran, Iraq, and modern day Turkey. However, the Mughals did not like to be called Mughal or Mongol. This was because Genghis Khan's memory was associated with the massacre of innumerable people. It was also linked with the Uzbeks, their Mongol competitors. On the other hand, the Mughals were proud of their Timurid ancestry, not least of all because their great ancestor had captured Delhi in 1398. So they felt pride when they were connected with Timur, or they were called that they are related to Timur, but they didn't like themselves to be called as a descendant or Mongols who were descendant of Genghis Khan, because he was not liked for the massacre he carried out. They celebrated their genealogy pictorially, each ruler getting a picture made of Timur and himself. Take a look at figure 2, which is somewhat like a group photograph. So you can see the picture. It's a miniature painting. What a miniature means? Small painting. Dated 1702 to 1712 of Timur, his descendants, and the Mughal emperors. Timur is in the center, and on his right is his son Miran Shah, the first Mughal emperor, Babur's great great grandfather, and then Abu Said, Babur's grandfather. To the left of Timur are Sultan Muhammad Mirza, Babur's great grandfather, and Umar Sheikh, Babur's father. The Mughal emperors Babur, Akbar, and Shah Jahan are the third. Fourth and fifth individuals on Timur's right and left is the same order as Humayun, Jahangir, and Aurangzeb, because it was drawn in the reign of Aurangzeb. 1707 Aurangzeb died. Mughal military campaigns. Babur was the first Mughal emperor from 1526 to 1530, succeeded to the throne of Fargana in 1494 when he was only 12 years old. He was forced to leave his ancestral throne due to the invasion of another Mongol group, the Uzbeks. After years of wandering, he seized Kabul in 1504. In 1526, he defeated Sultan of Delhi Ibrahim Lodi at Panipat and captured Delhi and Agra. Table 1 charts some of the major campaign of the Mughals. Study it carefully and see if you can notice any long-term pattern. You will notice, for example, that the Afghans were an immediate threat to Mughal authority. Note the relationship between the Mughals and the Ahoms. See also chapter 7. The Sikhs, also chapter 8 and 10. Mewar and Marwar, chapter 9. How was Humayun's relationship with Safavid Iran different from Akbar's? Did the annexation of Golconda and Bijapur in Aurangzeb's reign end hostilities in Deccan? So, you will study about the campaign which were carried out by different Mughal rulers for increasing the empire, for by annexing different states, and we will study how how their policies of administration were different from each other. Now see, Mughal emperor, major campaigns and events. Babur 1526 to 30. 1526 defeated Ibrahim Lodi and his Afghan supporter at Panipat. Then 1527 defeated Rana Sanga, Rajput ruler and allies at Khanwa. 1528 defeated the Rajputs at Chanderi, established control over Agra and Delhi before his death. Now Humayun 1530 to 1540 and then 1555 to 1556. Humayun divided his inheritance according to the will of his father. His brothers were each given a province. The ambitions of his brother Mirza Kamran weakened Humayun's cause against Afghan competitors. Sher Khan defeated Humayun at Chausa and Kannauj in 1540, forcing him to flee to Iran. So Sher Khan or Sher Shah, whom we popularly call as Sher Shah, was the one who defeated Humayun and set up his regime for some time, but he was the one whose policies were later adopted by Akbar for the administration. Now, Akbar the Great. Akbar was 13 years old when he became emperor. His reign can be divided into three periods. 1556 to 1570, Akbar became independent of the regent Bairam Khan and other members of his domestic staff. Military campaigns were launched against the Suris and other Afghans, against the neighboring kingdoms of Malwa and Gondwana, and to suppress the revolt of his half-brother Mirza Hakim and the Uzbeks. In 1568, the Sisodia capital of Chittor was seized, and in 1569, Ranthambore. So, when Akbar ascended the throne, he was just 13 years of age, and it is said that it was not bed of roses for him. Since he was very small, there was a person known as Bahram Khan who was ruling in the name of Akbar. Before that, so what after in when he like ascended the throne, after some time Akbar sent him for pilgrimage so that he can have the control in his own hands, and gradually he started increasing the size of the empire. So in 1570 to 1585, military campaign in Gujarat were followed by campaigns in the east in Bihar, Bengal and Orissa. These campaigns were complicated by the 1579 to 1580 revolt in support of Mirza Hakim. Mirza Hakim was Akbar's half brother. Like, you can say, not exactly, you can say the um, father was same, but then from different mother. 1585 to 1605, expansion of Akbar's empire. Campaigns were launched in the northwest. Kandahar was seized from the Safavids. Kashmir was annexed, and also Kabul, after the death of Mirza Hakim. Campaign in Deccan started, and Berar, Khandesh and parts of Ahmednagar were annexed. In the last year of his reign, Akbar was distracted by the rebellion of Prince Salim and future Emperor Jahangir. So, since there was no, you can say, law of succession, therefore this problem had arose. This problem arose that in the end part of his life, he had to face the rebellion from his own son, who later on became the emperor, that is Jahangir. He was called Salim because it is believed that he was born by the grace of the Saint Salim Chishti. So, therefore, he was given the name Salim. So, that is what we will study today. Please do read and try to do the questions which I will be giving. Thank you, class. Take care of yourselves.